All right. Welcome, everyone, to this week's edition. Sorry we were a couple of minutes late today. That was technical difficulties from some great Zoom updates. But welcome to our bi-weekly webinar where we talk about what's going on and what you should pay attention to. So today, we're really going to talk a lot about the market's heavy technicals, a lot of the Fed, a lot of, some of the different prognosis, and do some forecast. I'm going to let Zach and the team do a lot of forecasting today. I'm just kidding. I will not be doing that today. So there's still no unknowable facts in the future, so we'll be very careful with that as well. But as we start to go big, it's a wonderful summer day. We're starting to get some summer heat here in Wisconsin, about 85 degrees in heat, which is wonderful. I know many of us haven't felt a lot of that so far this year. A lot of the rest of the country has. So we welcome that as well. Plus a lot of great family gatherings and a really just busy, fun summer here in Wisconsin so far. So that's my go big. How about Zach?
Thank you, Chris. I'm just extremely grateful for Gentian today and all the things we have learned here together and grown with together, and then applying it to outside of here to the different networks, and specifically with the book club that we created here at Gentian. I did that with some of my friends downtown, and this morning I was very tired. I was at a 5:30 workout, and one of the people in there shared 2 stories about giving and how when she's looking for it, she keeps constantly seeing it, and had 3 or 4 opportunities within the last week since we had our book club and talked about giving and all the things that we talk about here at Gentian. So just extremely grateful for amazing people in my life, and specifically for all the learning and mentorship here at Gentian.
Awesome. Thank you, Zach. How about Michael Mann?
Thanks, Chris. I'm grateful for my mom. She's really taken it under her own wing to take care of my uncle at a time he's succumbing to cancer after a long, hard-fought battle, and she's really taken a lot of time out of her day, inconveniencing herself to drive up to central Wisconsin on a relatively regular basis to help him have the most comfortable end of life that he can. So she is the most wonderful woman I've ever met in my life. And sorry, Sabrina, but I think that's going to continue to change, or continue to be the case. So grateful for that.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that as well, and awesome for your mom. A couple things as well today. Let's go to our go big from Michael Birschbach.
Thank you, Chris. I'm actually just grateful for this team at Gentian here. I had a conversation with Lauren this morning. Her and I are 2 of the newest members of the group, and she actually had said, I'm just amazed how well everybody is able to work together and keep the focus and the common goal. And I think that's credit to Chris and Peter for putting us here and in the right position. So just grateful to be a part of this team.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate that. We're glad as well. We're glad to have both of you as well. How about Peter? How about yours? Go big.
Mine's easy for my first time back. As most people know, my wife Lindsay and I had our first child in June, daughter Madeline. So I'm just grateful that Maddie's happy and healthy baby, and grateful for Lindsay and the time she has off that she can spend taking care of Maddie right now while I'm back here at the office, getting to enjoy my day with this great team and great client base.
That is awesome. Yes, I've seen her as well. She's beautiful. You guys will enjoy seeing her if you get a chance as well. So thank you very much, Peter. I appreciate that. So touching a little bit today, today Fitch downgraded U.S. debt to AA+. Somebody said it was incidental. I read some of the different pieces, but the market reacted a little bit to it today. That's temporary. That's today's issues. But will the federal government pay back its obligations? The answer is yes, it's not failed. But I suppose anything can happen. But they did downgrade it slightly, which was interesting to see. And that causes a bit of trepidation. We've had an incredible first 7 months of the year. We've had about 1.5 years worth of return in the first half of the year. So some sort of pause is probably okay and likely just a normal process. But about the time you think that, it can go any direction. So there's no predictability to it. But interesting to watch a couple of those different items. Some of the other headlines as we've gone through, we've got some big earnings this week coming from some of the big companies, Microsoft's, Amazon's, Apple's, just a bunch of them coming out. Some earnings have been coming out and they'll miss a little bit if you have hit well, but overall corporate earnings have grown. And also last week we had some interesting discussions with the Fed. They decided to raise rates a quarter point again. And also employment was very strong. So you're looking at people re-entering the workforce who left during COVID. So there's a lot of things going on, if you will, in the bigger picture of the economics. But what continues to stay the course is our consistency with what it is we do, our faith, patience, and discipline, the process that we have, making sure your money is consistent and that it achieves the goals that you'd like to as well. So a lot of conversations are still around cash, what cash is doing. Some of the banks are starting to offer a little bit higher interest rates, but we want to make sure we have that conversation with you so you're getting what you should, not the minimum you possibly could get as well. As I run through today, I think those are some of the biggest issues. And I don't have really a single focus today. Maybe I'll come up with a word as we go through here, but I do like to at least start it with some of the bigger headlines, if you will. What we might want to do here is let's go to Mike's minute. Or Mike, today, Mike, we might give you Mike minutes, minute and a half.
Hey, I'll take anything I can get, Chris. Really appreciate that. So, one of the themes, and to echo kind of what Chris is saying, is that we've had a wonderful 7 months to start the year. And nobody would have ever expected us to have a wonderful 7 months to the year, except for the fact that maybe things felt oversold at the end of last year. It's really hard to say, but there was so much uncertainty. There was so much concern in the market. We always talk about the fear index and how people are individually feeling. And when that is at all-time highs, typically it's not, or typically, though, contradicting that, it is a good time to be an investor because it can only go in one other direction. And with the fear index going down, euphoria is created, others are investing back in the market, and some of these beaten down positions start to run. And then FOMO sets in and others start getting their money to continue to get to work. One of the cool kind of headlines, and at this point, Chris touched on it with the earnings seasons that we've had. And so about 60% of the S&P 500 has reported at this point. Earnings beat rate is still running at nearly 82% of those companies beating estimates. And at the beginning of the year, one of the biggest headlines, one of the biggest cases for bearish investors was the idea that these companies could not still put out positive earnings because of where interest was, because of everything that's occurred. That was going to be the next, the next shoe to fall, for instance. Like it was, everybody was saying that as soon as the earnings started to fall off, that was when we were going to see this recession, and it was going to happen soon. Well, it hasn't happened yet. It could absolutely happen with the future with everything going on, but it's just a wonderful headline to continue to look at. And there's a lot of things to like in the market right now. And it's really interesting when somebody comes back and the bears, their case right now is this can't be real. So this can't be real. This is it's a head fake. This isn't a real bull run. Well, they're starting to change their tune a little bit. So we'll continue to see what happens. A lot of times when one company runs for a very long period of time and they carry the market up, there's going to be volatility. There's going to be some sorts of up and down in the near short term, but that truly doesn't matter for the long-term plan. So all things that we're watching. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Michael. That's about a minute and a half. That was perfect. That was really perfect. I appreciate that as well. I know Michael likes to go down to the beach. He likes the water quite a bit, likes to water ski. And I said, why do you have such a good time when you go to the beach? And Michael said, it's a sure thing. So anyway, that's a good dad joke for Michael, even though he really didn't say that. I enjoy it though. With that, let's go over to Zach's facts. Zach, are there any facts we should know about the market? And then, of course, make some predictions about the future that, no, don't. I'm just joking.
I will leave all predictions to Mike and allow him to do those. But we'll just give a few more details just of where the markets are currently at. Fairly unchanged from our last webinar 2 weeks ago, but the Dow Jones, I'll essentially round to the nearest full number. The Dow Jones, 7% positive for the year, 4% in the last 2 weeks. The S&P 500 is 18% year to date and about 5% off of January 2022 highs still. The NASDAQ, which is 50% weighted towards technology, is 35% positive on the year, still unchanged from about 2 weeks ago. International is about 9%. Emerging markets is about 7% positive on the year. And the Russell 2000, which tracks the smaller size companies, is up 13% on the year, and still seeing the disparity between growth and value, where growth is up 17, almost 18%, and value is 8%. So it's a phenomenal reason to continue to diversify, not guessing which is going to be better, growth or value, and holding them all and continuing to rebalance. Just to kind of touch into the financial planning area as well, with all the work that I've been doing with various nonprofits and charitable giving in general, receiving some interest in how to give, especially when we have a really good market year and especially when some individual stocks appreciate very quickly. A few charitable giving reminders. instead of just giving via cash. That still may be the best way for you, but 3 of the most common ways are through appreciated stock. If an individual stock goes up significantly, you want to make sure it hits long-term status, that you've held it for more than a year, and then you can gift it directly to charity and pay 0 tax, and the charity pays 0 tax as well. The other one is called a QCD, a qualified charitable distribution, which is if you're over 70 and a half, you can give directly from your IRA to charity and pay no tax. And the last one is just a donor advised fund, where you can essentially bunch multiple years worth of your charitable giving into 1 year into a donor advised fund, and then distribute it over as many years as you essentially want. So those are the 3 biggest ones, and kind of a Ken's Corner item for you as well, Chris.
Awesome. I appreciate that. So what do we need to talk about in planning there, Zach? No, I'm just messing with you. I think it's fun to go through and mess with Zach. Let's give us some extra pieces on that. How might we run 100 miles? I'm just kidding you. You can show us that mental discipline, if you will. I think that'd be a good one. You know, it's kind of funny. So I tend to love music. As many of you know, we just had Gathering on the Green. And it's kind of funny because just recently, you know, the old Monkees song, I'm a Believer, and my wife was getting really, really angry at me because I was singing that song, I'm a Believer, and I had it on repeat. I just kind of kept singing it, and I thought she was joking. And then I saw her face. For you people who are oldies will understand that one and know the line. The rest you're going, what are you talking about? At any rate, kind of a good one there. So what I'd like to do, so we've got Michael Birschbach on the call today for Ken's Corner. So I'm going to call it Mike's Corner, Michael's Corner, maybe the Birschbach Corner. I can't really tell you if you'd like to. But we'll have you on today, Michael. So what do you got going on for us?
Today, I want to talk about some short-term planning for first-time parents. And I want to start by apologizing to Peter because this is at least 6 weeks late. But not only the financial side, but also some personal considerations as well, too. So this could be for anybody that is having a child in the near future, or as well as people who are about to become grandparents as well, too. So on the personal side of things, it's important to have meaningful conversations around what's important for each spouse for your new family. Talking about values and the vision for your new lives, as well as marriage on an ongoing basis, and starting to think about who you want to have on your trusted team to help with raising your new child, and potentially some people you don't want on that team as well too. From a financial perspective, obviously reviewing the budget, it's not the most fun thing to do. But the cost of raising a child is one of the largest financial commitments many will take on in their lives. The immediate financial impact, there's going to be a lot of medical visits, lab tests, baby formula, diapers, childcare, just to name a few. You're planning for 3 now instead of 2. Starting to establish or adjust your emergency fund due to higher expenses that are going to be upcoming. Developing a plan around use for parental leave, if your employers allow for it, and also understanding options for health insurance for the newborn child. You can consider cost, in-network options, and also a pediatrician that you would trust. And finally, thinking more long-term, after you've had some time to adjust to becoming new parents, will both spouses go back to work? What are the pros and cons of each? What's the opportunity cost? Where do you want to ultimately raise your kids and have them grow up before and when they enter school? Is there a preferred daycare you like? So a lot of things are obviously going to change, but just wanted to point out a few things to start to think about or to help advise people who are becoming new parents. Thanks, Chris.
That's awesome. Peter, do you have any commentary to that one?
I just know that Michael remembered to leave diapers on the list for cost.
That's right. That's exactly right. I appreciate that. So I was playing golf the other day, and one of my caddies, the caddy I know, had a 4-week-old, so about the same age as our wonderful Maddie. And it's funny because I talked to him yesterday. He said, yes, he's keeping me up. So the kid has 6 jobs. He's a really super hard worker, but you can just see it's starting to, he's in that 4th week, and you can see him starting to slow down a little bit. He goes, and we just started using formula. Oh my gosh, is that expensive? So it was pretty interesting to hear those comments as you go through. So that's very, very timely, Michael. I appreciate that as well. Before I get to the more important things that we should pay attention to, which Peter will cover today, I have a couple of ideas that I've went through lately, and sometimes we ruminate on a few things, but this one was really interesting. And I've got to ask you a question. Do you know someone who has a problem with complaining or has a complaining problem? Think about it. What does complaining solve? I really mean that. Is complaining, when you have a bunch of people complain to you, do you feel uplifted? Do you feel energetic? No? Then how do you feel after people complain quite a bit? Dirty, lower energy, worth less, maybe hurt if it's complaining about you. So I look at this, and I think it was Pippi Longstocking in her movie said one time that, and I think you've heard this before, you know, you got a choice, my dad told me. You can either look for the good in people or the good in things or the bad in things. I choose the good. So maybe that's why they call it the Pollyanna when you do look at the good only. But I think a lot of America, a lot of the world looks at the bad only and complains about it. And no matter what happens, if there's 10 great things, the 11th that doesn't go right, they'll talk about that forever and get everybody to join in on a chorus with them as well. So a couple of things I looked at, I call it, if you are picky, and you have a flaw-o-matic, I mean, you automatically look at the flaws. You see them right away, right? Be careful of that. Not just for yourself, but to those around you, because you're also potentially bringing them down. I'm not saying you can't notice what's wrong, but there's a way to approach that in a positive way. Instead of saying, well, that stinks, well, there were 10 good things. Maybe you mentioned 2 or 3 of the super good things and said, and here's something we can improve on, rather than going, that was horrible, that wasn't what I expected. The world has gotten less cordial. And one of our goals is to, with our kids anyway, and our team, is to become cordial and be the antidote to that as well. What is the antidote to complaining? It's gratitude. We go big at the beginning of a lot of our meetings. We go big in a lot of our different organizations, and we talk in front of a lot of people. But more importantly, we try to go big every day and in every conversation, especially when something hits you as a complaint. What can I take away from that I can actually use in a positive way? So to many of you, you've seen the book that we've had, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's actually changed our lives and changed many people's lives again by reading it as we're a bit older and we see it with different eyes. But this was one of the ones that catches me, has always caught me, that I flip this around to everything is a gift. Without the problems, you wouldn't have anything to solve. For some of you, without Sudoku, you wouldn't have anything to do on a Saturday morning. You know, if you look at those things, we celebrate all of them. You know, oh, this didn't happen, that didn't happen. Okay, well, it didn't happen in your time frame, and maybe there's a reason for that. So it's a tough thing to do with your mind. It's probably even more difficult than working out. So many go, oh, I don't go work out, it's too hot, or it's this or that, right? We complain about the weather when it's too hot. We complain about the weather when it's too cold, when it's windy. I don't know if there's ever a perfect day for people, but I'd say every day is perfect, as long as you decide that it is. So I would say one of the ways we can get rid of the problem with complaining, don't tell the complainer, if it's not you, that they're a complainer, because that's not going to work well. You just might start offering some things. Hey, today we were talking about this on our Gentian biweekly webinar about just noticing the gratitude, maybe reducing some of the thoughts about being a critic or the constant noticing what's not right. So you can start with gratefulness multiple times daily, or whenever somebody brings a complaint to you. Try it out. You might find that actually you'll brighten not just your day, but more importantly, somebody else's day. So we found that the change in this is inside of you, not inside of the world. It can only affect how you operate, but you affect everyone you're around. So if you're the complainer, notice it, admit it, be the bigger person and say, yeah, I do complain a lot. And more importantly, you just have to notice it and be self-aware. So I know this isn't your portfolio, but it really does come to your planning. It comes to everything you do, to those in the quality of life that surround you in retirement. And we love hanging out with you. A lot of you aren't that way around us. Now, maybe different around your spouse. Also, the thing to notice is there are 2 different yous. Is there one with you in public when you're having fun, and then one that people don't see when you're at home? Be careful not to be too different in both situations and scenarios. That can be a little bit unhealthy as well. Anyway, I'll stop with the soliloquy on that. But we did notice that it was a great antidote to complaining and to negativity is being grateful, even if you don't say it out loud. I'm grateful this came to me right now. And then you move on. So with that, the key is, I'll leave it at that. Don't complain. We don't mind if you tell us, we're ready for it, but the world doesn't need more of it. So with that, I'd like to say, Peter, I think that there's some things that we need to pay attention to coming up here in the next few weeks. Is that correct?
Yeah, everyone may have seen their Gentian Happenings email come out on Monday, or maybe it was yesterday of this week, but earlier this week. Later on in August, we have our next bi-weekly update on Wednesday, August 16th. Also on Wednesday, August 16th, we will have limited office hours in the afternoon as we focus our learning on how to serve you better. Then on Wednesday, August 23rd, we have our August birthday club. So hopefully if you are celebrating an August birthday, you are able to join us for that here at the office. If you had a July or have a September birthday and weren't able to join for one of those dates, please feel free to come in August as well. Then a couple of dates in September, on Wednesday the 6th will be our next Ladies and Gentian event. So please register for that if you haven't already. Those are always a great and fun time. And then finally on Wednesday, September 13th will be our second Gentian Shred event and Eat Outside Day here at the office. So that will be hopefully a very nice day for us to spend outside together. So please register for that if you haven't yet also. Thanks, Chris.
That's it? There's no more? There's not like...
That's it. No birthdays, no anniversaries this month. It was a little simple for me.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. I was prepared for another, few minutes of things. We normally have a ton there, but I appreciate that, Peter. So I can't believe it's so short. That should be longer. Again, there was a complaint. I was just modeling that for you. So one thing I want to say in kind of a part of a closing is, one thing I got to ask a question. Just notice today, do you focus on what you have or do you focus on what you don't have? A lot of this comes to the planning that we do with you as well. We like to focus on what we don't have and maybe talk about that versus the things you do have and appreciate them. So I do have one more question that goes with it as well. And it's, do you always find what is right or always find what is wrong? Today, if you can, for those of you listening today, focus on what's right. Focus on the things you have. Even if you get a chance, pull out your Gentian journal and write down what you're grateful for. More importantly, write a list of all the things that you have that you're amazed by. It can start with, an iPhone, computer, friends, the company of somebody else. Very, very interesting to go through. I just wanted to bring that up again because the question somebody asked me to start all this is, why are we unable to enjoy what is right in front of us? That was a pretty interesting question. I go, I can, because it's just not always right there. I don't always notice it. So today, enjoy the things you take for granted. Appreciate them. Be grateful for them. That today is our key message from us. You're going to find that the markets, you're going to find interest rates, you're going to find all that will be changing. It'll change in the short term. We know them, we keep track of them. We'll keep you posted on things you need to pay attention to. For instance, mortgage rates are a little higher right now again. And for the third week in a row, mortgage applications are down because rates have gone up. Those are interesting. Fitch, incidentally moves us from AAA to AA+. That's interesting, but we're still the most creditworthy country in the world. So things like that we'll pay attention to. We don't react to what's happening today because over time, we will muddle through it in the worst case scenario. And in history, if you study economic history, we get through it, we adapt, we move on, and we thrive in a different way. So with that today, let's appreciate the things we take for granted, not just for us, but for those around us. And if it's somebody, tell them. Tell them. So I know that's not your normal financial, but today is more of the live it. So in Plan It, Live It, Give It, which is what we do here at Gentian, we want to thank you tremendously for your trust in us. We want to thank you for your patience this morning, and our timing be a little bit late, but more importantly, we want to tell you that we appreciate you. The introductions you're offering to us, which are fantastic. Our team is here to handle those. We can handle the one-on-ones with some of the kids and some of the questions that they have as they're starting to venture into the job market. We really, really appreciate you and your families and your trust in us. I want to make sure you know that. So from the galactic headquarters of Gentian here in Mequon, Wisconsin, I want to tell you thank you for this bi-weekly webinar. Thank you for your time, most importantly. We look forward to seeing you in the near future at the Shred event, as Peter said, here at your meeting, or anytime we will maybe run into you in one of the appointments that we have as well. We really look forward to seeing you. Thank you and have a great day.